So to start with, let us have our most essential learning competencies. Number one, analyzes art elements and principles in the production of work following a specific art style from the neoclassic and romantic periods. Number two, identifies distinct characteristics of art during the neoclassic and romantic periods. Number three, identifies representative artists from the neoclassic and romantic periods. Number four, reflects on and derive the mood, idea, or message from selected artworks. Number five, explains the use or function of artworks by evaluating their utilization and combination of art elements and principles. And number six, uses artworks to derive the traditions or history of the neoclassic and romantic periods. So we will start our discussion about neoclassicism, which is from 1780 to 1840. For our introduction, in the middle of the 18th century, neoclassicism was born out of rejection of the Rococo and late Baroque styles. So meaning it is after the Baroque period. Romanticism began in the same era, but its approach had to do with the modern or new rather than the traditional. So we have variations with regards to the implications of the arts during this period. So in this unit, you will learn about neoclassical and romantic artworks. Their influences today were highly visible through the styles of paintings, sculptures, and other artworks adopted by the well-known artists internationally and also by some of our national artists in the Philippines. Some of the existing architectural structures convey the traits and characteristics of such periods. So not only in other parts of the world, but you can see the artworks or their influences in the Philippines or in our country. You're going to trace the art history and characteristics of neoclassicism and romanticism with various artists that made names for each period. Painting, sculpting, and modeling are the processes and products that you will make for this unit. So let's start with what is neoclassicism. So the word neoclassic came from the Greek word neos, meaning new, so a new one, and the Latin word classicus, which means or which is similar in meaning of the English phrase first class. When we say first class, this is something to do with a high level or of the best quality or in the highest grade. So you can see or you can witness that in the artworks that you're going to view later on. So the Western movement in the decorative and visual arts was called Neoclassicism. So it also applies to literature, theater, music, and architecture that were influenced by the classical art and culture of ancient Greece and ancient Rome. The neoclassical movement coincided with the 18th century Age of Reason, also known as the Age of Enlightenment. So the art style in this period was brought about the renewed interest in the Greek and Roman classics. Neoclassical art pieces such as paintings, sculpture, and architecture generally portrayed Roman history, which elevated the Roman heroes. So if you're going to analyze the different artworks with regards to neoclassicism, you will see or you will easily recognize that it portrays the history of romance or all about their heroes. So what are the characteristics of the Neoclassicism? So number one is, of course, as what I have mentioned before, the portrayal of Roman history. So the Roman history is visible in their art pieces, such as in their paintings and sculptures and so on. Number two, we have formal composition, the use of diagonals to show the peak of an emotion or movement. So it's versus a regular movement. And then the utilizations of the local color. You can also see the overall lighting and the classic geo structure in their masterpieces. So let's proceed to the neoclassical painting. Okay, so please pay attention about this because you're going to create an artwork with regards to this one. So neoclassical painting or the neoclassical artists embrace the ideals of order and moderation in which artistic interpretations of the classic Greek and Roman history were restored to realistic portrayal. So it means upon seeing those artworks, you can see clearly the realistic or the actual incident during that time. So neoclassical painters gave great importance to the costumes, settings, and details of classical subject matter without adding distracting details but with as much historical accuracy as possible. So we have here the word accuracy. When we say accuracy, from the word accurate or its root word accurate, so the informations or measurements, statistics, or all details are exactly as what is the real one. Okay, so now let us meet our neoclassical artists during this period. So the first one is we have J. Louis David, who was born in 1748 and died in 1825 in France. So J. Louis David was an influential French painter in the neoclassical style and considered to be the eminent painter of the era. His subjects of paintings were more on history. So, with regards to history, we are studying Araling Panlipunan. So, maybe some of the artworks related to his paintings will also be discussed in your Araling Panlipunan subject. So the first one is, or the first work of J. Louis David is The Death of Marat. So David's masterpiece shows the portrayal of a revolutionary martyr. So when we say martyr or the word martyr, it means that if you, for example, someone is imposing a law and you are standing on your own views and opinions, so and then uh, you died by your own philosophy or opinion, so you may be called a martyr. So revolutionary, so you are against, you are somehow against with the laws that being provided, for example, by the community or where you are living. So this is a painting of a murdered French revolutionary leader, so Jean Paul Marat. So this is his painting about this um, so this artwork. So you can see that this is part of their history, as what is mentioned before, that J. Louis David's painting is portraying the history of their time. So the next one is Napoleon crossing the Alps. So I guess you are all familiar with Napoleon. So the painting that showed a strongly idealized view of the real crossing that Napoleon and his army made across the Alps through the Great St. Bernard Pass in May 1800. So we have I know you have heard his name. We have Napoleon Bonaparte. So he is quite familiar. So this is the actual setting that is being portrayed during that time. Then the third one is the oath of the Horati. So but first, let us identify what do we mean by oath. So an oath is a solemn and usually formal calling upon a god or a god to witness the truth. So it could be a solemn attestation of the truth or inviolability of one's word. So in this case, we are dealing with the oath of the Horati. So it was a large painting that depicts a scene from a Roman legend about. So when we say legend, it is sort to be a a traditional story or sometimes popularly regarded as historical but unauthenticated. So we are this is not verified if the incident is true. Okay, so about the dispute between Rome and Alba Longa, the three brothers, all of whom appear willing to sacrifice their lives for the good of Rome, are shown saluting their father who holds their sword out for them. Okay, so the next artist is we have Jane Auguste Dominique Ingres, who was born in 1780 and died in 1867 and also born in France. Ingres was a pupil of J. Louis David. He was influenced by Italian Renaissance art painters like Raphael, Nicolas Poussin, Botticelli, and his mentor J. Louis David. His paintings were usually nudes, portraits, and mythological themes. He was regarded as one of the great exemplars of academic art and one of the finest old masters of his era. To further understand what the theme of his painting, let us break it down. So when we say nudes, it's not necessarily it is depicting the body of a person who are not wearing clothes. It might depict the color or the color that he utilizes in his artwork. So I know the girls are familiar with the nude colors. For example, they are using the nude lipstick. So it is somehow colored or in relation to their skin tones. So then we have the portraits. So as we previously discussed in our previous discussion, portraits is pertaining to the image of a person and commonly painted. And then we have the mythological themes. So in your English, so you are also discussing the different mythologies. We have the Greek mythology and the Roman mythology, wherein we are discussing the different gods and goddesses. Also, we have in the Filipino, we have the different Filipino mythologies as well. So it could depicts biblical figures, or it could depict those mythologies about Roman or the gods and goddesses. So let us see some of his work. So the first one is the portrait of Napoleon on the imperial throne rather. So when we say throne, so this is the seat of the emperor or the person who is leading the country. So the painting depicts in his decadent coronation costume seated upon his golden encrusted throne. So throne, we are referring to the chair or the seat of the king or the emperor, and hand resting upon smooth ivory walls. And during his reign, the painting was owned by the Corps of Legislative, which was a part of the French legislature. The painting was believed to be commissioned by Napoleon as King of Italy. So Napoleon himself asked Ingres to paint his portrait. And then, so since a while ago we mentioned that some of his theme is about mythology, so we have here the apotheosis of Homer. So if you are familiar in your literature, we have the Homer's Iliad, which is dealing with the different Odyssey or the Odysseus about his journey to Ithaca. So the painting was a state commissioned by Charles X to have him remembered in the building works of the Louvre. The painting depicts an image of Homer receiving all the brilliant men of Rome, Greece, and contemporary times. Okay, so now we're going to proceed to our engagement. So learning task 1, directions. Identify the distinct characteristics of the arts during the Neoclassic period and write your answers on the table. So we have here two artworks. So we have for David and the image number 2 is for Ingres. So all you have to do is to fill out the table regarding to your or depending on your analysis. For example, the lines. So what are the lines visible in the painting of J. Louis David? Are there vertical lines, straight lines, curved lines, and so on with Ingres painting? The shape. So we are all familiar with the shapes, the texture, color, form, and value. You are also given the guide in our group chats. And for our assimilation, so all you have to do is this is entitled Inspired, draw an illustration. So you're going to draw, showing the ideas of neoclassical painting. So depending on on whoever artist you are being inspired. It could be with David or it could be in Ingres. If you're inspired with Ingres, maybe your painting is all about mythology, all about portraits of someone you love or yourself, or it depends upon your creativity. So observe the usage and application of elements of art. So do this in a 1/8 illustration board. You can use crayons or oil pastel, whatever is available in your home. So we have here the rubrics or the criteria for you to be guided. So number 1, we have the quality of work. So all instructions were followed correctly. Visual impact. Photos were clearly and beautifully presented. Punctuality. Artwork was submitted on time. Neatness. Artwork presentation was neat and orderly. So after finishing your artwork entitled Inspired, don't forget to write your name on your illustration board. Name and section and the title Inspired. So you're going to answer the reflection on your learning activity sheets. So reflect on your performance from the previous task. Answer the given questions below. So number 1, what is the subject of your artwork? So it depends on the theme that you chose. Number 2, why did you choose this subject? Just reason out some of the details. Why did you choose that theme? Number 3, how did you apply the elements of arts as to lines, colors, and texture? And number 4, what did you feel while doing your artworks? 1 to 2 sentences are uh, applicable. Okay, so that's all for today, class. See you again, class, next meeting. Keep safe, everyone. Once again, I'm your teacher for MAPE 9, Sir Patrick Razon. Take care.